The large screen in the United Earth Defense Force headquarters showed the alien ship. It was twice the size of Earth's biggest spacecraft. Admiral Kim sat at the head of the table, his face calm, but his eyes sharp. "They call themselves the Talons," he said to the room of military leaders and scientists. "They say they come in peace." Dr. Park looked up from her tablet. "Their technology is at least 100 years ahead of ours." The room was quiet. Humanity had prepared for this day for decades, but now that aliens had actually arrived, everyone felt the weight of what this meant. "They want to meet tomorrow," Admiral Kim said. "I will lead our team." The meeting room was set up in a neutral location, a platform built quickly in Earth orbit. Admiral Kim walked in with 5 other humans. He wore his formal uniform with all his medals. He wanted the aliens to know they were dealing with Earth's best. 3 Talons entered from the other door. They were tall, with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer. Their eyes were large and completely black. The one in the middle stepped forward. "I am High Commander Grell of the Talon Expansion Fleet. We bring greetings from the Talon Council." Admiral Kim bowed slightly. "I am Admiral Kim Daho of the United Earth Defense Force. Earth welcomes you." The talks lasted 6 hours. The Talons offered technology, medical knowledge, and help with Earth's energy problems. They asked for some of Earth's resources and permission to build 3 bases on the planet. "This seems too good to be true," Captain Lee said later, as the Earth team discussed the meeting. Admiral Kim nodded. "I agree. But we cannot show fear or distrust. The technology they offer could solve many of Earth's problems. I want to study their medical data," Dr. Park said. "If it's real, it could help us cure many diseases." Over the next month, more Talon ships arrived. They built their first base in the empty plains of Mongolia. They shared some technology as promised. Earth's leaders were happy with the new friendship. What the humans didn't know was that the Talons were watching them closely. In a hidden room deep in the Talon base, 3 intelligence officers studied screens showing human cities, factories, and military bases. "Their weapons are primitive," said one officer. "They rely on physical projectiles and simple energy beams." "Their real weakness is here," said another, pointing to images of human hospitals and schools. "They care deeply about their young and sick. They have many rules about not harming non-fighters during war." High Commander Grell entered the room. "What have you learned about their defense systems?" "They have some space weapons, but nothing that can stop our main fleet. Their satellites could be disabled easily." Grell looked at the images of humans going about their daily lives. "They are so trusting. They actually believe we want to be their friends." He laughed, a cold sound. "Are the entropy weapons ready?" "Yes, Commander. We can deploy them whenever you give the order." "Good. Continue to act friendly. Learn everything about their weaknesses. In 6 months, we will show these humans what real power looks like." Back at Earth Defense Headquarters, Admiral Kim was looking at new data from the Talon base. Something didn't feel right to him. "Why do they need so much power for a diplomatic base?" he asked Dr. Park. She looked at the readings. "This is strange. They're using enough energy to power a small city." "Keep watching them," Admiral Kim said. "I want to trust our new friends, but we must be careful." He didn't know it yet, but Earth would need more than careful watching to survive what was coming. 6 months passed. The Talons had built all 3 of their bases, one in Mongolia, one in Brazil, and one in South Africa. They shared medical knowledge that helped cure 2 human diseases. Earth's leaders were happy with the new friendship. Captain Lee Jin stood at the window of his office in Seoul. The city was busy as always. People walked below, going to work and school. Everything seemed normal. His phone rang. "Captain Lee, please come to the command center," said a voice. "Admiral Kim wants all senior officers now." When Lee arrived, Admiral Kim looked worried. "Our satellites have detected strange energy readings from all 3 Talon bases. They started 10 minutes ago." "Have you asked the Talons about it?" Lee asked. We tried. They are not answering any calls. The large screen showed a map of Earth with 3 red dots where the Talon bases were. Suddenly, the dots began to pulse, and waves of energy spread out from them. "What is happening?" asked Admiral Kim. Dr. Park rushed into the room, her face pale. "It's a weapon. The energy is affecting the atomic structure of buildings and infrastructure. It's making them age rapidly." As if to prove her words, alarms began to sound. Reports flooded in from cities around the world. Buildings were crumbling. Bridges were falling. Power plants were failing. "They're targeting our cities, not our military bases," Captain Lee said in shock. "They're attacking civilians." Admiral Kim's face hardened. "This is not how honorable warriors fight. This is murder." The command center shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Seoul is being hit," someone shouted. "The building won't last long." "Evacuate all personnel," Admiral Kim ordered. "Captain Lee, take charge of the city evacuation. Dr. Park, grab all the data you can about this weapon. We meet at the backup base in 24 hours. Captain Lee ran through the streets of Seoul. Buildings were aging before his eyes. Modern glass towers turned yellow, then brown. Cracks spread across them like spiderwebs. Then they began to fall. "This way," he shouted to the crowd of scared people. "Follow me to the underground train stations." A mother with 2 small children stumbled. Lee ran to help them. "The buildings," she said, pointing up. "They're turning to dust." "The stations are built to withstand earthquakes," Lee told her. "They should be safer." For hours, Lee and his team guided people to safety. The beautiful city of Seoul, with buildings that had stood for decades, was turning into ruins in minutes. High Commander Grell watched from his ship above Earth. The entropy weapon was working perfectly. It sped up time for non-living things, making them age hundreds of years in minutes. "Send the message to all human governments," Grell ordered. "Tell them to surrender now, or we will destroy every city on their planet." "Commander, we're getting reports of human military bases going dark," said a Talon officer. "They seem to be hiding." Grell laughed. "It doesn't matter. Their weapons cannot harm us, and these humans care too much about their civilians. Once they see what we've done to their cities, they will give up rather than let more of their people die." "What if they fight back?" asked the officer. "With what? Their primitive weapons? Their silly rules about fair fighting." Grell shook his head. "Humans are weak. They think war should have honor. We know better. War is about winning, no matter how." Deep below the surface, Admiral Kim stood in the emergency command center. Reports of destruction came in from around the world. Millions dead. Cities in ruins. "Dr. Park, what have you learned about their weapon?" he asked. She looked up from her computer. "It's targeting the natural decay process of materials, making entropy work faster. I think I can find a way to counter it, but I need time." Admiral Kim nodded. "You'll have time. The Talons think they know humans. They think we will give up." His eyes were cold now. "They are wrong. They have not seen what humans can do when we are pushed too far." He turned to the remaining officers. "The Talons want to teach us about war crimes. Fine. Let's show them what humanity is capable of when the gloves come off." 3 months after the attack, the remaining humans had gone underground. Deep beneath the mountains, they built hidden bases. The Talons searched for them, but found very little. In the largest hidden base, Dr. Park Soo-min had not slept for 2 days. Her lab was filled with pieces of buildings affected by the Talon weapon. She studied them under special machines. "The rate of decay is amazing," she said to her team. "The weapon made steel age 300 years in just 5 minutes. A young scientist looked up. "If we understand how it works, can we stop it?" "Maybe even more than that," Dr. Park said. Her eyes had a determined look. "If we understand it, we might be able to use similar science to fight back." Admiral Kim entered the lab. He looked older now. The weight of leading what was left of humanity had taken its toll. "Dr. Park, what progress can you report?" he asked. "The Talon weapon targets the natural process of decay. It speeds up entropy. That's the breakdown of order in systems," she explained. "But it has limits. It only affects non-living things, and it needs a lot of energy." Admiral Kim nodded slowly. "Can we defend against it?" "I think so," Dr. Park said. "And there's more. Our quantum physics research might give us a way to create something similar but different, something they won't expect." At the same time, in another part of the base, Colonel Yoon Han-gil prepared his Special Forces team. They were Earth's best soldiers, trained for the most dangerous missions. "Today, we capture a Talon ship," he told them. "We need their technology and information." The soldiers checked their weapons. They wore new suits designed to hide their body heat and heartbeats from Talon sensors. "They think we're beaten," Colonel Yoon said. "They think we're hiding and waiting to die. They don't know humans very well." High above Earth, a small Talon scout ship patrolled. Inside, 2 Talon officers were aboard. "The humans have gone into hiding," one said, "like scared animals." "High Commander Grell says they will surrender soon," said the other. "They care too much about their cities and their people." A light flashed on their control panel. "What's that?" the first officer asked. "Just space debris," said the second, looking at the screen. "Nothing to worry about." But it wasn't debris. Colonel Yoon and his team floated silently toward the Talon ship, using small jets on their suits to guide them. They reached the hull and attached devices to cut through the metal. The Talons never knew what hit them. Colonel Yoon's team was inside the ship before the aliens could call for help. In 3 minutes, both Talons were unconscious, and the humans were flying the ship toward their hidden base. Dr. Park could hardly contain her excitement when the Talon ship arrived. She immediately began studying its technology. "Their systems are partly biological," she told Admiral Kim. "That's why our weapons didn't work well against them." Colonel Yoon added, "And we captured their computer systems intact. We have their maps, their plans, even their communications." For the first time in months, Admiral Kim allowed himself a small smile. "What about the Talons themselves?" "In holding cells," Colonel Yoon said, "their biology is very different from ours. They are sensitive to sounds we can barely hear, and their nervous systems are more complex." Dr. Park looked up from her work. "That could be useful information." Admiral Kim nodded. "Learn everything you can. The Talons thought this war was over when they destroyed our cities. They think we will fight by their rules now." He looked at the captured Talon technology. "They have no idea what's coming." On his command ship, High Commander Grell was becoming frustrated. "How can we not find their main bases? It's been 3 months. The humans are hiding deep underground," his officer explained. "Our sensors can't penetrate that far." "It doesn't matter," Grell said. "They can hide, but they can't fight back. They have nowhere to go. Eventually, they will surrender." He had no idea that the humans were not thinking about surrender at all. They were planning something much worse. The meeting room was silent. 20 people sat around a large table. They were the leaders of what remained of human military and government. Admiral Kim stood at the head of the table. "We now understand the Talon weapons and ships," he said. "Dr. Park and Colonel Yoon have given us the tools to fight back. Now we must decide how to use them." General Choi Ji-woo, an older man with gray hair, spoke first. "We should follow the rules of war that humans have always followed. We attack their military targets only. We treat any prisoners with respect." Colonel Yoon shook his head. "The Talons don't follow those rules. They attacked our cities first. They killed millions of civilians on purpose. That doesn't mean we should do the same," General Choi argued. "If we fight like them, we become like them." The debate went back and forth. Some leaders agreed with General Choi. Others supported Colonel Yoon's view. Dr. Park had been quiet, but now she spoke. "I need to show you something." She pressed a button, and a screen showed complex diagrams. "This is what we could build based on our quantum research. It's a weapon that affects living tissue the way the Talon weapon affects buildings." The room went completely silent. "You mean it would age people rapidly?" Admiral Kim asked. "Not exactly," Dr. Park said. "It would disrupt the nervous system. It would cause pain but not death. We could use it to disable their forces without killing them." "That sounds like torture," General Choi said, his face pale. "So was watching our cities turn to dust with people inside them," Colonel Yoon replied sharply. Admiral Kim raised his hand for silence. "We need to be very clear about what we're considering. The Talons used weapons that caused maximum destruction and terror. They targeted civilians first. They broke every rule of ethical warfare that humans have developed over centuries." He looked at each person around the table. "The question is, do we respond in kind? Do we show them what humans are truly capable of when we set aside our ethical limits?" A woman at the far end of the table spoke. She was President Kang, one of the few world leaders who had survived the attacks. "In normal times, I would never consider using such weapons," she said quietly. "But these are not normal times. The Talons have forced our hand." She stood up. "I propose a temporary suspension of our ethical warfare protocols. Not because we want to be cruel, but because we must show the Talons that their actions have consequences." The vote was taken. 17 in favor, 3 against. Admiral Kim nodded grimly. "Then it's decided. Dr. Park, you have permission to develop the weapons you described. Colonel Yoon, prepare your forces for Operation Mirrored Response." As the meeting ended, General Choi approached Admiral Kim. "I hope we don't lose our humanity in this fight," he said softly. "We won't," Admiral Kim promised. "This is a temporary measure, but the Talons need to learn that humans are not weak. Our ethics were a choice, not a limitation." High Commander Grell received a strange message from one of his patrols. A human communication had been detected, directed at the Talon fleet. "Play it," he ordered. The voice was Admiral Kim's. "To the Talon forces, you have shown us how you wage war. Now we will show you how humans fight when truly provoked. You call our ethics a weakness. You will soon learn they were a mercy we extended to our enemies, a mercy you no longer deserve." Grell laughed. "Empty threats. What can they possibly do to us?" His second-in-command looked worried. "Commander, should we increase our defenses just in case?" "Against what?" "Their primitive weapons." Grell shook his head. "The humans are beaten. This is just the roar of a dying animal." How wrong he was. The humans were not dying. They were transforming into something the galaxy had never seen before. A species with advanced technology, and no ethical limits on how to use it. And they were coming for the Talons. Major Kang Min-ho checked his equipment one last time. His team of 50 soldiers stood ready. They all wore new armor made with technology taken from the captured Talon ship. "Remember your training," he told them. "The nanites will be released as soon as we breach their base. They are programmed to target Talon nervous systems only. Humans will not be affected." The soldiers nodded. They had trained for weeks for this mission. They knew what the nanites would do. Tiny machines, smaller than dust, would enter Talon bodies and cause extreme pain without killing. "Is this not torture?" one young soldier had asked during training. "It is exactly what they did to us," Major Kang had answered. "But we offer something they did not, a chance to surrender." Now, as they approached the Talon base in Mongolia, Major Kang gave the final order. "Activate EMP devices." The electromagnetic pulse weapons fired. Inside the Talon base, all systems suddenly went dark. The Talons relied heavily on their technology, including cybernetic enhancements to their bodies. Without them, they were much weaker. "Move in," Major Kang ordered. The human forces entered the base quickly. The Talons inside were confused. Their weapons didn't work. Their communications were down. And then the nanites hit them. The sound of Talons screaming filled the base. They fell to the ground, their bodies twisting in pain. Major Kang spoke through his helmet speaker. Talon forces, you are experiencing what humans felt when you destroyed our cities. The pain will stop when you surrender. Similar attacks happened at the other 2 Talon bases. Colonel Yoon led the attack in Brazil. Captain Lee led the one in South Africa. In all 3 locations, the result was the same. Within 1 hour, all Talon bases on Earth were under human control. In the command center, Admiral Kim watched the reports come in. Send the message to the Talon fleet, he ordered. On every Talon ship orbiting Earth, screens suddenly came on. They showed the captured Talons, some still writhing in pain. Admiral Kim's face appeared. This is just the beginning. You targeted our civilians. We targeted your soldiers. You still have a chance to leave our system and never return. On his command ship, High Commander Grell couldn't believe what he was seeing. How had the humans defeated his ground forces so easily? A message came in from one of his officers. The humans are using some kind of biological weapon that targets our nervous systems. This is illegal warfare. They are committing war crimes. Grell slammed his fist on the control panel. Send a message to their leaders. Tell them to stop using illegal methods of warfare immediately. The reply came back quickly. It wasn't words. It was just video footage of human cities crumbling, of people running in terror as buildings aged and collapsed around them, of children crying beside parents who had been crushed. Then Admiral Kim's voice. You call this a war crime. Let us show you war crimes. In Dr. Park's lab, she worked with her team to prepare the next phase. The captured Talon technology had given them new ideas. The quantum displacement field is ready, she told Admiral Kim when he visited. We can now redirect their own energy weapons back at them. Admiral Kim nodded. And the space defense system? Commander Ba has it ready. The satellites are in position. Good, Admiral Kim said. The Talons will respond with their fleet now. They won't believe that humans could defeat them so easily. Dr. Park looked worried. They still have much more firepower than we do. True, Admiral Kim agreed. But we have something they don't understand. The will to do whatever it takes to survive. Above Earth, the Talon fleet was gathering. Dozens of massive ships moved into attack position. High Commander Grell had decided to end this quickly. Prepare the orbital bombardment. Target their largest remaining population centers. He would show these humans what real power looked like. What he didn't know was that humans were about to teach him the same lesson. The Talon fleet hung in space above Earth like a group of angry wasps. 30 large warships, each bigger than anything humans had built before the attack. High Commander Grell stood on the bridge of the largest ship. Begin the bombardment, he ordered. Target their underground bases first. Then any city that still stands. Massive weapons powered up on each Talon ship. They glowed with blue energy, ready to rain destruction on Earth. Fire, Grell commanded. Beams of energy shot toward Earth. Grell smiled. This would end the human resistance once and for all. But something strange happened. The beams never hit Earth. Instead, they seemed to bend in space, turning around and shooting back toward the Talon ships. What is happening? Grell shouted as his own ship shook from a direct hit. In a hidden control room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Commander Ba Jun watched his screens with satisfaction. The quantum mirror defense was working perfectly. Target their main weapon systems, he ordered his team. Don't let them adjust their aim. The satellites that Dr. Park had designed were simple but brilliant. They created quantum fields that caught the Talon energy weapons and redirected them back at their source. The Talons were being hit by their own firepower. Admiral Kim, the defense system is working, Commander Bay reported. The Talon fleet is taking heavy damage. Good, Admiral Kim replied from the main command center. Now launch our ships. The Talons had never imagined that humans could build ships in secret, but for 3 months, underground facilities had been working nonstop. Now, from hidden bases around the world, human ships rose into the sky. They were smaller than Talon ships, but they were fast and built specifically to fight this enemy. Each carried weapons designed by Dr. Park that targeted the weaknesses they had discovered in Talon technology. Commander Ba led the space fleet from his flagship. "Attack pattern Alpha," he ordered. "Remember your training. Their ships are strongest at the front. Target their engine sections." The human ships moved in perfect formation, dodging the now weakened Talon weapons fire. They fired precisely at the weak points of the Talon vessels. On his command ship, High Commander Grell couldn't believe what he was seeing. 10 of his ships were already badly damaged. 2 had been completely disabled. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Their weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our shields." His second-in-command looked at the data flowing across his screen. "They've adapted their weapons to the exact frequency of our shields. They know our technology too well." Another blast hit their ship, sending Grell stumbling. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships, pull back to safe distance." As the Talon fleet retreated, cheers erupted in human command centers around the world. For the first time since the attack, humans had won a major battle. Admiral Kim didn't cheer. He knew this wasn't over. "Track them," he ordered. "I want to know where they're going." Dr. Park entered the command center, looking tired but proud. "The quantum mirror defense worked even better than we hoped," she said. "They'll be back," Admiral Kim said. "And next time, they'll bring something worse." Dr. Park nodded. "I know. That's why I've been working on Phase 2 of our defense. We're ready for whatever they bring next." In the safety of deep space, High Commander Grell called an emergency meeting with his officers. 1/3 of his fleet was damaged or destroyed. For the first time, he felt fear. "How did they adapt so quickly?" he asked. "How did they build ships and weapons in just 3 months?" No one had good answers. "It doesn't matter," Grell said finally. "We still have our ultimate weapon, the one we were saving for truly dangerous enemies." His officers looked shocked. "The organic decay accelerator. But that weapon is banned even by our own laws." "I don't care anymore," Grell said, his voice cold. "These humans must be destroyed. Prepare the ODA. We will show them what a real war crime looks like." Little did he know, the humans were more than ready. Their counter was already waiting. 3 days passed. The Talon fleet had moved back to a safe distance. Earth's leaders were cautious. This quiet period felt dangerous. "They're planning something," Admiral Kim said to his advisors. "Grell won't give up so easily." As if on cue, a communication came in. The large screen in the command center showed High Commander Grell's face. "Humans," he said, his black eyes cold. "Your resistance has been noted. It changes nothing. We now offer you one last chance to surrender." The camera view changed to show a massive device on Grell's ship. It was like nothing humans had seen before. It pulsed with a sickly green light. "This is our organic decay accelerator," Grell continued. "Unlike our previous weapon that aged your buildings, this targets living tissue. It will cause every organic being in its path to decay rapidly. Death will be unpleasant." Admiral Kim's face showed no emotion, but his hands tightened into fists. "We have positioned our fleet above your largest remaining population center," Grell said. "You have 6 hours to surrender, or we will activate the device." The screen went dark. Captain Li Jin, now in charge of Earth's Rapid Response Force, immediately called Dr. Park. "Did you see the Talon message?" he asked. "Yes," Dr. Park replied. "The weapon is exactly what I thought they might use. It accelerates decay in organic matter, the same way their first weapon did with buildings." "Do we have a defense?" Captain Lee asked. Dr. Park smiled slightly. "We do. I've been working on a quantum containment field since we first captured their technology. It can isolate the effects of their weapon and redirect them, just like our mirror defense did with their energy weapons." "How quickly can we deploy it?" Captain Lee asked. "I've already sent the plans to Commander Ba. His ships are being equipped now." On the bridge of his flagship, Commander Bai watched as technicians installed Dr. Park's new device. It was smaller than he expected. "Will this really work against their ultimate weapon?" he asked the lead technician. "Dr. Park says it will not only stop their weapon but turn it against them," the technician replied. "The containment field will capture the decay effect and send it back to its source." Commander Bai nodded. "Let's hope she's right. We won't get a second chance." As the deadline approached, the Talon fleet moved into position above what had once been northern Canada. Below was the largest underground complex where humans had gathered after the first attack. High Commander Grell felt confident again. "The organic decay accelerator is ready," he announced. "Once activated, nothing can stop it." His science officer looked nervous. "Commander, using this weapon violates our own highest laws." "The Council isn't here," Grell snapped. "I will end this human problem once and for all." The 6-hour deadline passed. No surrender message came from Earth. "They are either brave or foolish," Grell said. "It makes no difference. Activate the ODA." The massive device began to hum. Green energy built up around it, swirling and pulsing. Then a beam shot down toward Earth. At that same moment, Commander Ba gave his order: "Activate containment field." From a ring of human ships, a blue energy field appeared. It surrounded the green beam from the Talon weapon, containing it like a pipe. Then, slowly but surely, the green energy began to reverse direction. On his ship, Grell watched in horror as the energy from his ultimate weapon began flowing back toward his fleet. "Shut it down," he screamed. "Shut it down now." "We can't," his science officer shouted back. "The reaction has already started." The green energy reached the Talon command ship. The organic decay accelerator began to corrode and rust before their eyes. Then the effect spread to nearby organic components of the ship. "What have they done?" Grell whispered as he watched his ultimate weapon destroy itself. On Earth, Admiral Kim allowed himself a small smile. "Now," he said quietly, "we show them what humanity is truly capable of." The failure of the organic decay accelerator left the Talon fleet in chaos. Several ships were damaged by their own weapon. The others were trying to regroup. Admiral Kim knew this was the moment to strike. "Begin Operation Final Response," he ordered. Across Earth, hidden launch sites opened. Hundreds of small fighter ships rose into the sky. They were joined by 3 large warships that humans had built in secret underground facilities. Colonel Yoon led the Special Forces teams. Their mission was the most dangerous: to board and capture key Talon command ships. His soldiers were equipped with weapons designed to disable Talons quickly. "Remember," he told his teams, "we want prisoners. The more Talon leaders we capture, the sooner this war ends." Meanwhile, Dr. Park activated her most important creation. "The virus is ready," she told Admiral Kim. "Once deployed, it will spread through their semi-organic technology and shut down their systems." Admiral Kim nodded. "Deploy it." Dr. Park pressed a button. From Earth's defense satellites, tiny capsules were fired toward the Talon fleet. They were too small to be noticed among the battle. When they reached the Talon ships, they attached to the hulls and released the virus. On his damaged command ship, High Commander Grell was trying to regain control. "How do they turn our weapon against us?" he demanded. "Sir, we have bigger problems," his officer reported. "Human ships are approaching fast. Hundreds of them." Grell couldn't believe it. Impossible. They couldn't have built so many ships so quickly. Another officer called out, "Our systems are failing. Something is attacking our bioneural circuits." All around him, screens went dark. Lights flickered. The ship's engines shut down. "What is happening?" Grell shouted. The answer came when the wall of the command center exploded inward. Colonel Yoon and his team entered, weapons ready. "High Commander Grell," Colonel Yoon said calmly, "your ship is now under human control." Similar scenes played out across the Talon fleet. As their systems failed due to Dr. Park's virus, they were easy targets for boarding teams. Some Talon ships tried to flee, but the human fighters pursued them. In his flagship, Admiral Kim watched the battle unfold. His plan was working perfectly. The Talons had never expected humans to adapt so quickly or fight so effectively. "Admiral," his communications officer called. "Colonel Yoon reports that High Commander Grell has been captured." A cheer went up from the command crew. Admiral Kim raised his hand for silence. "This isn't over yet," he said. "Prepare for the jump to the Talon homeworld." This was the most daring part of the plan. Using technology taken from Talon ships, humans had built their own faster-than-light drives. Now they would take the fight directly to the enemy's home. When the human fleet appeared near the Talon homeworld, the effect was immediate. Panic spread through the Talon defense forces. They had never expected humans to reach their planet. "This is Admiral Kim of Earth Forces." He broadcast on all Talon frequencies. "Your fleet has been defeated. Your ultimate weapon has failed. High Commander Grell is our prisoner." The Talon Council, the leaders of their species, sent an urgent reply. "Please cease your attack. We beg for mercy." Admiral Kim thought about the millions of humans who had died when the Talons attacked Earth's cities. The Talons had shown no mercy then. But humans were not Talons. "We offer you a choice," Admiral Kim replied. "Unconditional surrender or total war. Choose now." The Talon Council took less than 5 minutes to decide. "We surrender," they said. "Please, no more." As the human forces secured the Talon homeworld, Captain Lee approached Admiral Kim. "They didn't expect us to be so strong," he said. "No," Admiral Kim agreed. "They thought they were teaching us about war crimes. Instead, we taught them about human determination. We showed them that our ethics were a choice, not a weakness." The war was over. Humanity had won. But the real challenge was just beginning: how to build a lasting peace. 3 years had passed since the end of the war. Earth was healing. Buildings were being rebuilt. People were returning to the surface from their underground shelters. In what was once Seoul, Captain Lee Jin stood watching the construction team. But this team was not made up of humans. Talons worked under human supervision, rebuilding the city they had destroyed. Major Kane joined him, looking out at the new buildings rising. "Strange to see them working to fix what they broke," he said. Captain Lee nodded. The terms of surrender were fair but firm. They must help rebuild all the cities they destroyed. "Do you think they've learned their lesson?" Major Kang asked. "I believe they have," Captain Lee replied. "Nothing teaches better than experience." On the Talon homeworld, Admiral Kim met with the new Talon Council. Unlike the old leaders who had started the war, these Talons were more cautious, more respectful. "The rebuilding of Earth cities is proceeding as planned," the head counselor reported, "and our military technology has been dismantled as required." Admiral Kim nodded. "Good. And the education programs?" "All young Talons now learn about the war and its lessons," the counselor said. "They learn that attacking civilians is wrong. They learn that ethical warfare is not weakness." This had been one of Admiral Kim's most important demands, that Talons change how they thought about war and ethics. "There is one more thing," the counselor added. "Many Talons want to join the new Interstellar Ethics Council that you have proposed. They believe our experience makes us valuable as a warning to others." Admiral Kim allowed himself a small smile. "I agree. Your representatives will be welcome." In her new laboratory, Dr. Park led a team of both human and Talon scientists. After the war, she had shifted her focus from weapons to protection. "The detection system is working," she told her team. "It can identify any weapons similar to the ones used in the war. If anyone tries to build such weapons again, we will know." A young Talon scientist asked, "Do you believe others will try to build such terrible weapons?" "Yes," Dr. Park said honestly. "But now we can stop them before they are used. That is the purpose of the Interstellar Ethics Council, to prevent wars like the one we fought." In a quiet garden on Earth, a memorial ceremony was taking place. It was the anniversary of the day the Talons had first attacked. Millions had died that day, and in the days that followed. Captain Lee and Major Kang stood among the crowd. Admiral Kim gave a speech. He did not speak of hatred or revenge. Instead, he spoke of responsibility. "We remember those we lost," he said, "but we also remember what we learned. We learned that our ethics, our rules of war, are precious. We set them aside when we had to, but we have taken them up again." He looked at the Talon representatives who stood respectfully at the edge of the gathering. "We also learned that we are stronger than we knew. Humanity faced extinction and fought back. We are now known throughout the galaxy as a species that should not be underestimated." After the ceremony, Captain Lee and Major Kang walked through the memorial garden. Stone markers showed the names of cities that had been destroyed. "Do you ever think about what we did during the war?" Major Kang asked quietly. "The weapons we used, the choices we made." Captain Lee nodded slowly. "Every day. But I also think about what we didn't do. We could have destroyed the Talons completely. We had that power, but we chose a different path." Major Kang looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, ships from many different alien species were coming to Earth for the first meeting of the Interstellar Ethics Council. "That's the real victory," he said. "Not that we won the war, but how we won the peace." Captain Lee smiled. "Yes, the Talons thought they were teaching us about war crimes. Instead, we taught the galaxy about justice. Above them, the stars were coming out. Stars that now knew the name of Earth and the strength of its people. A people who preferred peace but could wage war like no other when pushed too far. A people who had shown the galaxy both their mercy and their might." The end.